Hello, and welcome to the Straight to the Source podcast. I'm Tanya Barr.
And I'm Lucy Allon, and we're looking forward to taking you straight to the source of the people driving the food and hospitality industry forward.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Unox Australia, leaders in innovation and kitchen technology.
Today, we're joined by one of Australia's most influential and uncompromising culinary voices, Chef Mark Best. From the groundbreaking days of Mark to global stages like The Final Table on Netflix, Mark has never followed the crowd. And now he's embarking on a new chapter, which he's just announced. I'm going straight to the source with Mark to hear about this next culinary chapter of his career and find out how he's going to shape the new restaurant that he's embarking on, Infinity by Mark Best.
So we'll use all of the oysters, of course. Mm-hmm. That'll be one of the signature dishes. I also love the Coffin Bay oysters, little Pacific introduced species, but eat the problem and all that. They're fantastic. The little deep dish ones. One of the good ones in Sydney, I think, is one of the great cities of the world. And I think Infinity is going to be that beacon as you fly into Sydney. It's just incredible. You never fail but look out the window when you're flying in, no matter how many times you fly into the harbour, looking out and looking down on the cities you come in.
Mark, welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure.
Your incredible career has been very well documented, so I'm excited to have you here, but I don't want to dive into the past or what has got you to where you are today. What we would love to chat to you about today is the exciting news of your new venture. So tell us what's about to happen.
So my past has got me to this point. So
it has.
I'm about to open up Infinity by Mark Best in the revolving restaurant at Sydney Tower.
Wow. Okay.
My glib tagline is "Icon meets icon." So.
Okay. So how did it come about? Like, they came to you with this idea. Were you immediately like, "Yep, this is for me"?
Look, I've known Tony Panetta for a long time, really highly regarded chef. I happened to work with him. I was asked to go and do a big dinner for the National Gallery of Australia, a gala dinner, big fundraiser, and I went there, and Trippus White happened to run that venue as well. So we very much enjoyed working with each other, and Tony said, "We should get you on board. I think I've got a project that might interest you." And I said, "Oh, yeah, okay." So I've not really been interested in a project, personally, since Mark finished in late 2016. So when he told me that it was the Sydney Tower, it was just absolutely batshit enough for me to go, I'm on board.
Okay, so that was the incentive, I think crazy, the building, but I can do it.
I've loved the building, and it's run on its I guess its view and TripAdvisor for a long time, and I just feel that it really should be elevated. So there are a lot of puns coming, but not from me, but the revolving restaurant. But I just felt that the whole hospitality part of it should be elevated. So the sort of I guess the glib sort of maxim is that the higher you go, the worse the food. And but I think that these types of buildings are having a bit of a moment. So if you think about the Shard in London, that type of thing, these are very good restaurants. Drew Newpoint just took over a revolving restaurant in New York, right in Manhattan. So I thought, okay, the zeitgeist is with me as well. So
do you find that I often wonder that, things that work overseas often don't work in Australia? So what do you think is going to be different about
it's a pretty good
Infinity?
Point. It's a very good point, actually. I think it took me going up there. I've looked at it. We live in King's Cross, so I look at that building every day, and just going there. But it was actually going up there and seeing the view. I mean, it's literally the first building to see the dawn and last to see the dusk.
Yeah,
sort of thing. It's just incredible. I just immediately thought that this really should be the sort of literal translations of its physical presence. Come out every time, but it literally should be a beacon. For what Australian, a tourism restaurant could be, so it's something I think it's the first thing when you fly into Sydney, even you see it, and I just want people to come through there. I want corporate Sydney, we're above the fray, so to speak, that I just want them to come in and cement new relationships with international guests and celebrate wins and, commiserate losses, hopefully not too many, but, get people up there to look at the city that's sort of given me so much.
So it's been, 9 years pretty much since Mark closed, and about that. You've done a lot in that time. Did you think when you closed Mark that you would ever go back into another restaurant? I'm
going to be executive chef. I have consulted, on some big projects, opening the Ritz-Carlton in Melbourne, the Atria, helping out the owners at the Kalal in Brisbane, which won the world's 50 best hotels a couple years in a row, that type of thing. But there's always that sort of conundrum with consulting that you identify everything that needs to be done, but in the end, you're the squeaky wheel that gets shunted out the door because,
Yeah. Okay. So back on the pans, back on the pans, back on the past, and it's not something I've thought that I would do. I've done, cruise ships, luxury cruise ships, in between then as well. It is a challenge. I'm not saying I'm suitably nervous about what I'm going to do and what I can bring. To manage people's expectations. Probably not my own. I have enough ego to think that I can absolutely nail it. And without that, you can't, you come into this industry, as with complete naivety. Yeah. But the other end if you knew
of all of this, if you knew what you knew, you wouldn't have done it. But the other end, you have to have confidence in your craft and the knowledge that you've built up over, 3 or so decades. To get stuck back in it again. And I have that. But surely I'm nervous, but in a good way, in that I'm excited for the possibilities. Yeah. I'm fired up and I care about it, which is what nerves are about.
I think you were quoted as saying once you closed Mark that you meant Mark to be simpler than it became in the end. How are you going to sort of take that experience or that influence and apply that to sort of the vision of what you do at Infinity? Is it going to be Mark-esque?
Yeah, the only chains I have to put on is myself and getting too ambitious.
Right.
And remaining focused on the building, what it can do, the audience, the demographic that we've clearly identified.
Which is?
Well, tourism, basically.
Okay.
People flying in from the pointy end, and corporate people, someone that, wants to sit up there and, eat something deliciously Australian and drink something deliciously Australian. It's going to be an all-Australian wine list for a start. And they go, not even champagne. I go, no, because it's made in France. We're going to say we're heroing. Yeah, so we're in partnership with Arras, House of Arras. People say, but we don't do Pinot, we don't do Burgundy. We don't. No, we don't do Burgundy. We're Australian. We do other things. And I can point out single vineyard Grenaches from a Filion or that are just absolutely sublime, that type of thing that we do completely differently. And this is going to be, without being nationalistic or jingoistic about it, is going to be an Australian experience. And so what's the cuisine? I go, which is always a dumb thing, also dumb because you can never answer it. What is the cuisine? Yeah. But it's, it's an expression of my 30-odd years living and working as a chef in Sydney. Will be on the plate, great producers, great winemakers, Australia-wide, and somehow put that all together that makes sense.
You have also talked in the past about, the multicultural and diverse sort of scene in Sydney and the dynamic around that. Will that come to play on the plate as well? Will we see sort of 100%. Different influences of different types of cuisine?
Well, there's 135 different language groups, in Sydney. Living, working, playing, growing, eating, dining. The kitchens themselves are very much an expression of multicultural Australia now, including my head chef, Jen Kwok Lee, but he will want to do something probably really Western. I'll be probably pushing more towards his Chinese Malaysian.
Funny, the push-pull of
So it's that push-pull.
Yeah.
And then I'll be getting the kids in the kitchen to sort of cook what they love, what they cook at home, the things that what they eat. And I sort of, like a bowerbird, you sort of take all the shiny bits out of that and put it into your different different elements.
So very much a collaborative approach to the menu with your team?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
It always has been. Mark always was as well.
Okay.
I saw myself as a conductor of a very fine orchestra. And this is the same. I think I find myself running out of ideas very quickly, but you end up acting more as an editor, saying no 100 times and yes once.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
But just to get those ideas under plate and get those, I guess, the ideas fully formed and, executed.
So 100% Australian wine list, which is awesome. What else will you be doing differently?
Look, it's going to be a fairly, I guess, a confident expression of what a good restaurant should be. So in that way, it's not going to be different.
What should a good restaurant be from your perspective?
Well, it's got an incredible view, like unsurpassed view. It's got unsurpassed service and food. So between those elements, not one of them will be more important than the other.
Yeah.
There'll be hopefully some sort of X factor that comes out of that, which will be the vibe. I mean, anyone can open and be busy for the first month or two in Sydney. Anyone.
Yeah.
It's that second, third, fourth year. Maybe in the fifth ones, in the fifth year, they're the tough ones, which can undo everything that you've done before.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of people would say it's tough out there right now. Why would you want to open a new restaurant? Tough economic environment? Do you think there's a place for it?
Look, it's no tougher than it's ever been for me personally.
Yep.
I've been in it long enough to have seen the swings and roundabouts, the ups and downs. It's a bit like the stock market. It goes up and down, but it goes from left to right and goes up. So prices have gone up.
And up.
And up and up and up.
Yeah.
And I thought I was asked back in COVID times what was going to change. And I said, there's going to be a consolidation, which the bigger operators are putting together groups and you can build in those group efficiencies.
Yeah.
And that's working with trippers. You've got in-house marketing, in-house PR. You've got management. We've got group sommelier, Luella.
Wonderful.
Incredible. Yeah, she's fantastic. So we've got those sort of things. We can... what else we got? Finances in-house, keep us disciplined, recruitment, HR, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So all the things that a small restaurant has to do. The first time I can just cook.
And that's joyful.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that's why I'm excited. I just go write an email for someone about this or that, or they write an email back and say no. No, I'm excited from that perspective in terms of it's a bit more of a pure experience for me personally.
Very exciting.
So,
Yeah. So let's discuss, seasonality and sourcing. And I know, like, in the years since Mark, you've really put a big focus on Australian produce and showcasing that on the global sort of stage, which is something, Tonya and I have really always had at the heart of Straight to the Source. It's really driven, the business that we've built, championing that provenance and sustainability and joining those dots. So not to, replace distributors or anything like that, but just connect, the chef with the producer, the sommelier with the winemaker, understand where that product's come from. How will seasonal and local produce be represented on the menu? Are you going to really put a big focus on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Without that produce and the beauty of seasonality, I find it very difficult to cook.
So that's your inspiration.
The idea of cooking in Singapore or Hong Kong, where everything is flown in, you can whatever you want from all over the world can come in. I hate that idea.
Right.
I like to work within the parameters of seasonality and those small seasons, which happen. Victorian asparagus or white asparagus season, or even truffle season to a certain extent, or spring lamb, those types of things. Are important, especially salad greens and vegetables. I love moving into winter vegetables and that type of thing.
Are there any particular producers that you're really excited about having an opportunity to work with?
I'm going to work with Block 11.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
For all the greens, so we had of orange and Hawkesbury.
Yep.
And that, so they've currently got on Puntarella.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is just something, they discovered traveling to Rome. It's a distinctly Roman thing.
Yeah. I love that we're in that season of all those really bitter greens and radicchio. It's delicious.
So I'll put on a a dish sort of like that with agrumato from Rio Vista in Maipalonga from South Australia, where I sort of grew up.
Yep.
And just with winter vegetables, so done in that way, but all the winter vegetables and brassica and that sort of stuff as one of the salads. Magra lamb, slow roasted lamb neck. They do regenerative farming up there, so they use tillage radish, which is literally daikon. So they're sort of like the organic tillage in that they grow into the ground and open it up, and then all the nitrogen fixes that they grow with that to go into the soil. But the daikon actually grow out of the ground. The sheep come along and literally pluck them out and eat them. So I'm actually going to make a dish from these tillage radishes, or I'm going to make a white kimchi out of those radishes and put it with the lamb neck. So those are the types of things, and I think that's that French thing that that what you find in nature that goes together. Basil and tomatoes, etc.
Yeah.
But it's mushrooms and chestnuts and truffles all go together. They all come in at the same season together. So it's that old thing of things that grow together, go together.
Yeah.
And
wine as well,
Yeah.
That's what's exciting. You've got that Australian expression of wine on the list to match with dishes like that.
Yeah. And I think that's my country upbringing. So I was born in Lameroo in South Australia, or Pinnaroo actually, but lived on the farm in Lameroo, and then Meningie on the Coorong, and mum's from Tanunda in the Barossa Valley. So there's that whole culture thing that I still draw on heavily. It took me a long time to sort of understand who I was as a person before I could start to use that as part of being a chef. Like just early, like 21, came to Sydney, and then sort of trying to escape those country roots. And a lot of country people will tell you that.
So when you accepted that and embraced it, that's when you actually felt you kind of...
Well, I was sort of competing with the Keys and the Fink groups and the Tetsuyas and rock pools and things at the time, and they just had better buying power than me. They were growing things just for them and locking everyone else out. And so that's when I really decided that, look, I should just be able to, I had this sort of like breakthrough where I said I could just take anything, even from a supermarket. So forget all this stuff like Mr. Miyagi going to the top of the mountain for the bonsai, which was what it was seeming that it was like.
Yeah.
It was this the rareness and the more exclusive, the more expensive, and everything was going there. And then I heard Ferran Adria say that he was told by his chef Jacques Maximum that all ingredients are equal, and by that he meant that the carrot was as important as the lobster, and the potato was as important as caviar, that type of thing. And that was sort of like a little light bulb moment that clicked. And then so I thought, you know what, I should be able to go and buy a donkey carrot or big beetroot or donkey parsnips, that type of thing, and apply my craft to it, and which we did. And so that's really gave us our own voice in terms of what we did.
Yeah.
And there was no gatekeeping on it. No one wanted to follow me there. So
yeah, okay. And so you've talked about vegetables, red meat, protein. What about any seafood or fish?
Yeah.
Anything that you'll focus on there?
So we'll use all of the oysters, of course. That'll be one of the signature dishes. I also love the Coffin Bay oysters, little Pacific introduced species, but eat the problem and all that. They're fantastic, the little deep dish ones. So we've got a sort of one of the really the only things that are carrying through from Mark Days, just emblematic more or less. The oysters with grilled sea foam, where we whip up. We make a pickling liquor and whip it up with the oyster liquor into this very fine mousse, and it just caramelizes and sits on top of the oyster. It's literally just an acid element, like you would a squeeze of lemon or shallot vinegar, whatever. But this time 2.0, we're going to make an edible shell as well. So so that's going to be our little, just that one little trick, and this is not. I want this restaurant to be pretty much gimmick-free and timeless in terms of its cuisine, and not fashion-driven, but this is one little carry-through from that time, I think.
Okay. And the menu will sort of move with the ebb and flow of the seasons, then reflecting all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that idea also. If you're not doing that as a chef, I don't think you're doing it properly. I think you're looking for the seasonality is that it's at its best, it's most abundant, and it's the cheapest.
Yeah. Going back to when you were saying what is a good restaurant or what is a best restaurant, that's very much part of it as well.
Well, it's staying in touch with it.
Yeah.
And, you're going to miss out on maybe the puntarellas. You have to have a good relationship with someone to get that for a start. But even if you look at mangoes, for instance, the cost quality trajectory of a mango across the season, like they can pay extraordinary amounts for a very poor mango, or you can get them very cheaply and they're extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
in talking about, sourcing Australian produce and really being in step with the seasons, what are your thoughts about the landmark decision that's just happened recently where Food Standards Australia and New Zealand have just made the decision that cell-cultured meat is now approved for human consumption in Australia and New Zealand, which I think made us the 4th region in the world for that to be a fact. What are your thoughts around cell-cultured meats?
Intrinsically, my gut reaction is yuck. I think, look, we eat all sorts of shit that are on the shelves of supermarkets. Most of it isn't food anyway. Nutrition is going to be one of the things.
A big question around
Big
it.
question.
Yep.
Along with climate change is how do we feed everybody?
Yep.
How do we find enough water, potable water, that type of thing for everyone. These are the big questions that we've got going ahead. So these sort of conflicts that we're seeing, they're about that really.
Yeah.
Sensibly.
It is very much watch that space, isn't it? Because, chefs, they do very much influence, what people will end up eating in 5 or 10 years' time.
The cattle industry is the enemy. I don't think the cattle industry in itself is causing climate change. I think I would like to see more efficiencies in the system, as we talked about that farm to table.
Yep.
And we talk a big game, but there's often a great distance between the farm and the table. And again, our wholesalers and distributors are extremely important, but there are so many inefficiencies along the way, even for them. So you have the farmer not getting a good price, and at the vagaries of the climate and commodity pricing and that type of thing, through to the wholesalers who are now having to compete globally. So meat wholesalers are having to compete globally with or distributors for product, and it's very thin on the ground. So that's pushing up prices as well. Yeah. So we're not just feeding our tables, we're feeding the world as well. So most of that, with our currency disparity between us and the US dollar, it's very cheap for our produce, which is exceptional.
Yeah.
To go to the US.
And it's not expensive to eat in Australia in comparison to the rest of the world, even though it does feel expensive in Australia.
Well, I think we eat extremely well.
I agree, yeah.
I think we eat extremely well for the price point that we're at. So
yeah. And so with these kind of products of innovation, what do you think is the role of chefs in terms of like tasting them and giving them a place, like important roles, something chefs need to sort of taste, make a decision, embrace? Or
each of their own. It won't be me. I think we've seen what's happened to the salmon industry with JBS eating tassel and what they've done to that resource. We had a very, very good, beautiful business, Petuna Ocean Trout, which is quite famous, and put that whole region on the map, and now it's been destroyed basically.
That's all about information and really knowing what you're sourcing, what you're buying.
It's also about government selling off our natural resources. I don't think that multinationals should be owning those sort of resources, literally having a harbour, literally owning our food sources, but chefs can support smaller producers, which is what I want to do. I want to support. Obviously, we have to be, sort of fiscally sensible. Yeah. Without making a profit, you don't have anything. But within that, I can I'm not just going to be putting names on a piece of paper. It's more a bit of a show, don't tell philosophy to it. Even my support of, female winemakers, and I think, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Rather than just being glib about it, and actually giving material support to those parts of the industry that need supporting.
Yeah. And when you understand what goes into producing produce and getting it to our kitchen benches and our plates, you become much more committed to using the whole animal and using all those different cuts and, the second.
Well, I know their stories. I know their actual stories, and I know them. Sue from Singing Magpie in the Riverland. She had to put, I think, nearly seven tons of her incredible Smyrna quinces hit the ground and were mulched into her orchard this year. She was offered like 34 cents a kilo to be driven to Orange to be processed to turn into quince paste, which would then be relabeled with some very famous labels back in South Australia. And she can neither afford pickers nor can, and like these are things that her great grandfather brought back from Turkey from the First World War, Smyrna meaning Turkey. And I went to, I did a bit of work with regional development for the Murray River, Coorong area, and we went all around and heard everyone's stories and tasted all the produce, and hers was a standout. And so it's when I went to open the Ritz-Carlton, we got her incredible fruits, the dried fruits, into the amenities for the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
So that was financially that was big, but in terms of, that was making a statement.
They've actually just been announced as Delicious Produce Awards national finalists, which is very,
that's
very,
great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well deserved. So as well as, showcasing producers, you've always been a really big advocate of mentoring the next generation. And in fact, we were co-judges back in the day in Appetite for Excellence for Young Restaurateur. What is the sort of mentoring ethos that you'll bring to the new restaurant? Have you kind of changed the way you'll mentor the team since you had Mark? Like, how will that take shape?
Mark was always considered a hard kitchen because it was intellectually demanding. So I demanded a lot out of them, especially with ideas. I'd badger people to think harder.
Okay. So they'd give you an idea, and
and I go,
think more.
Come on, you're not even trying. Okay. Try again. Like, I really give them a hard time until. And that's everyone from Pussy and Brent Savage and Dan Hong will tell you how hard it was. Dan Puskas, Dan Pepperell, all of these, guys that have gone on, Julie Nyland and Lauren Eldridge. This is it's a craft. It's not an art. I believe it's a craft. And so I have to teach them to think creatively. And you can do that. It's not genetic. There are techniques. It's like going to art school to learn to draw a face or a hand or whatever. It's a craft, and you accumulate the techniques, and then the talent can come out, grow from there. And so it's the same with them, and to tell them how to look at things, and I would go, no, because my eye would just go, no, this is wrong, and they go, what's wrong? I said, you cannot have that. I'm a bit sort of autistic about these things. You cannot have that shape there. This is like a geometric shape. It's completely wrong. Or I'd say, no, you have to dress it like, the bit, the leaves falling from the tree. That's how, wherever they land, that's the perfect spot. As soon as you move it, it's all wrong. So
you're like pushing the plate back, going, try again.
Yeah, or that you're working too hard, you're overthinking it.
Right.
Or sometimes you're underthinking it.
Yeah.
So it depends,
Yeah.
So sometimes more is more, sometimes less is more. It's all these. But it's just working, I think, doing the same thing over and over and over and over. Mark served, 50 people a day, we did a 10-course degustation. So, that's, 500 plates a night, and you just get good at things. You develop that hand memory. It's like music or carpentry or architecture or photography. It's any of those disciplines which I find incredibly inspirational, all of those things. I like watching bricklaying videos on YouTube or, stonemasonry and those types of things, and the language that they use, even the stonemasons, it's this common. There's a commonality that I like that with food, which you wouldn't think, but
okay, I've never thought of it like that. And what about from a front of house perspective, in terms of like, what do you want to see that maybe isn't being done now? Is there something you'd like to really mentor your front of house team into embracing?
Yeah, I think it's I love the sort of the peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer service style that I think that we do so well. Quite egalitarian.
So you look after people the way you would like to be looked after? Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, you treat people.
Yeah.
People is basically treating them equally to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not servile. There's an equality there. So, but also having the depth of knowledge that you can not be caught short by any question, and you can then anticipate the customer's needs. You can look at the table without having to ask them or intrude on that sort of that sort of bubble of joy, hopefully, around that table. You don't have to prick that bubble. You can just things down. You should be basically not seen. By the time someone's waving their hand, that you're done. So you've missed.
Yeah.
You've missed it.
Also reading when they want to be entertained and engaged with, and being able to sort of give them that as well.
There's that psychology, that takes a lot of experience, where you've got people who need to share something, and they do share a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
And but other people that just want to be left alone. So you have to read, what is the occasion? What are they here for? What do they need from us?
Yeah.
Are they lost in terms of the menu or the wine list? And so even those documents, trying to make them more self-filtering, the wine list. I know myself, I'm just totally bored by big wine lists, and you're filtering through a lot of pages before you get even through to the wine by the glass. So I think making these documents clear and intuitive, and
service is the process, but hospitality is the experience. So once you've got those foundations, you've got that knowledge, you've got that service process down pat, that's a bit like, the memory of how to plate a dish, then you can focus on the real essence of hospitality and reading what the table wants or needs, and having that really intuitive response.
And I think now people they celebrate themselves for achieving the rudiments of service, but I want to go beyond that. And train people, and just get back to what it's all about, and that's making or helping people sort of just take that moment, at the table, and escape from what they're normally doing. Just forget about things, and it's a distraction, very nice distraction, and then hopefully you even can create memories sometimes, but at the very least create that sort of distraction for the time you've got them.
So from Australia being on a global stage perspective, where do you think Australia is right now in the kind of the hierarchy of great dining destinations, and where do you hope it could be on the back of infinity?
It's right where it needs to be. I think I'm glad that we've stopped competing. I think that tyranny of distance has given us, that sense of distance has given us a certain purity, and when we stopped copying everyone else is when Australian cuisine sort of really came into its own. We're probably going through, the great New York grill moment at that moment, but that's just a fashion thing, and that'll fade away. But I think produce is incredible, and I think our chefs are as skilled as anyone. I think we're one of the great dining destinations of the world. I don't think we're better or worse than anyone else. I think we're one of the good ones. In Sydney, I think is one of the great cities of the world, and I think infinity is going to be that beacon as you fly into Sydney. It's just incredible. You never fail but look out the window when you're flying in, no matter how many times you fly into the harbour, looking out and looking down on the cities you come in. Never tires.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think Sydney has found a sort of self-assuredness. It feels like it's its own person. It
does.
Its own dining scene, and it, like you said, it doesn't need to look elsewhere for kind of justification, or are we doing it right, or it's just doing what it does really, really
And there's
well.
good food right out into the suburbs now that
absolutely.
there wasn't before.
Yeah, the diversity across what's being represented in cities and in regions, like it's very exciting.
Even north of the bridge.
Yeah. Well, we won't go there with that conversation. I don't want to upset anyone that's listening.
No, but it's amazing. And now the Sydney CBD, with that whole trams thoroughfare right from the key, sort of has joined everything together. It's just incredibly vibrant.
So it's very exciting. You're heading back into the kitchen, into the past. I'm sure everyone's really, really looking forward to it. But after your sort of years of consulting and having a bit more time to write and travel, and I know you're a passionate photographer, how are you going to keep that work-life balance happening?
There's never any balance. You work your guts out and, to make it work. And that's what I have to do. So just, I guess, accepted that that's what's going to happen.
Going to be all in.
All in, yeah. And whatever the business needs, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And just to build up that audience and build up, I just want to make it an essential restaurant. I don't want a restaurant that needs to be run by continually being pumped by good reviews. They should follow, but really I want people that are there for its, intrinsic merit.
Very much looking forward to it. Now, I'm going to wrap things up shortly because I know you've got a lot to do in the lead into the restaurant opening, but I did want to ask you to taste something. So, Mark, I'd love to ask you to taste the new Cobram Estate. It's their limited release 2025 First Harvest. And Tonya and I were really lucky to head down to Boundary Bend in Victoria to see the this year's harvest. Love to see what you...
I'm a fan of this. I've had it before a couple of times, this particular sort of cuvee, I guess they would call it in wine terms.
Hoya Blanca, Picual, Coralina.
Oh, okay.
What are your thoughts? Peppery.
Intense.
Really, yeah.
It's a unique product that you would use very specifically for its texture and flavour profile.
It just punches on the palate.
But I imagine that like on, some really super ripe Nightingale persimmon, like almost jelly with some of that on it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of pepperberry or something like that would be, that's the dish,
So thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited about what's ahead for you.
Yeah,
and
really enjoyed it.
Looking forward to it taking shape. We'll see you on the path at Infinity.
Lovely.
Thanks for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did.
And a special thanks to Unox Australia for their support. If you want to learn more, head to their website.